Jesus comes walking on the water toward the boat with the disciples in it, and the first thing they say is, "It's a ghost." Friday night, I didn't have any plans. My family's in Wisconsin. So I took the Lincoln Ghost Tour here in town. Did you know that they start on Adams and 6th, and then their very next stop is the steps out in front of this church? They do. They stop right out there, and they tell stories about us. So I listened to the stories, and when the tour guide got to the point of asking if we had any questions, I introduced myself and told them that I've heard that Mary frequents the building. But I don't know all the stories, so if you know stories, let me know. I'm not sure if we know that it's Mary. Who knows? Maybe it's Jesus. How could we tell? Personally, I would not be able to distinguish Mary's footsteps from Jesus unless Jesus were splashing because he's walking on the water. Maybe you noticed, and maybe you didn't, that Jesus comes walking on the water, not in the pristine, glassy waters of the Sea of Galilee, but in the storm-swept sea with winds pushing the boat, waves high. Jesus comes walking on the water in the midst of the storm when the disciples are afraid. I have been afraid this week. I'm a little bit afraid right now. I have been afraid about the saber rattling between our country and North Korea. I'm not old enough to remember Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but last Sunday was the anniversary. I've been afraid. I've seen people drawing up plans for bomb shelters. This can't be, right? This can't be, right? And yet here we are. I became more afraid Friday night as I was watching my Facebook news feed, and colleagues and friends of mine had gathered in Charlottesville, Virginia, because a big Klan rally was planned. Are you all following this news? A big Klan rally was planned for yesterday, and so the call went out for faithful folk to gather and to bear witness to the love of God between people, to stand up to Nazis, to stand up to white supremacists, to stand up to racism. And they gathered on Friday at an Episcopal church for prayers before yesterday's rally. Do you know what happened? These neo-Nazis, these white supremacists, gathered outside the church by the hundreds. Estimates I saw were 500 or 600 Nazis, Christians, gathered outside this church where people were praying with baseball bats and torches. 500 to 600 torches and baseball bats gathered outside a church where people were praying. Did you hear this? Some of you did. Some of you didn't. Police were called in, and they pushed the white supremacists back so that the people in the church could get out safely. And some of them were attacked. Some of them were assaulted. Yesterday, thousands of Klansmen, supremacists, Nazis, with a legal permit from Charlottesville, they have the right to free speech too, marched. And people of faith, people bearing witness to God's love, formed a presence to bear witness to a different reality, a different truth. Did you hear this story? Some of you did. As they were walking, praying, singing, a young white Christian man at high speed plowed his car into the demonstrators, into those praying and singing. People died. People were injured. People are in critical care right now. This is happening in our country. And I'm afraid. I have lots of colleagues that we're encouraging each other to gird our loins and speak this truth this morning, because there are some people in some churches who want to say, don't talk about that here, just talk about the Bible. Okay, shall we talk about the Bible? Let's start with Genesis. Cousins, brothers, kinfolk, Joseph, self-aggrandizing, right? Isn't it nice how he puts himself in the middle, puts himself above everybody else? Y'all can bow down to me, he says. And would any of us find that a tad bit annoying? Yeah. He's arrogant in a way that 17-year-olds might be arrogant, and he's tattling on his brothers. His brothers hate him. At least one of them wants to kill him. We have kinfolk in Charlottesville with baseball bats and torches, with cars that are willing to kill. But we're not like that, right? Please say yes. What are we instead? Maybe we're like Reuben. Reuben has a plan. No, don't kill him. Don't lay a hand on him. Just put him in the pit. Because, being in a pit in the desert in the Middle East with no water, that's better than dying. And Reuben has this plan that he's going to come back later and save him. He's going to come back later and take him out and take him back home to Dad. It's a plan. It's a plan. It lacked follow through. Reuben never pulled him out of the pit. Now, maybe he didn't have a chance. Maybe he got distracted by, what's on Facebook. I don't know. But then Judah comes up with another idea. If we're not going to kill him, we should at least make some profit out of this deal. We shouldn't let him just die. We shouldn't kill him. That doesn't get us anything. Let's sell him. Yeah, and remember, we were not in unison about whether or not it was okay to sell siblings. Some of us sometimes feel like we're the ones in the pit. Sometimes we feel like we're the ones who have been rejected. We're the ones who everyone is against. We're the ones who've been thrown in the pit. And sometimes we've been the annoying ones that have really upset our kinfolk. And sometimes we're Reuben, where we might have a good idea, but we lack follow through, and the result is the same. The road to hell is paved with, yeah, that's Reuben. And us. Oh, yeah. But quite frankly, sometimes we're the other brothers. Sometimes we're Judah. We have neighbors. We have family. We sometimes ourselves make the same excuses that are being made in the streets of Charlottesville. And sometimes we are the one who sell our kin into Egypt. How many weeks have I been here? I'm not sure I should be preaching this one this soon, right? I should preach nice things to make sure you like me before I preach the hard stuff. But someone was murdered yesterday for standing on the side of love against Nazis. And our faith tradition as Presbyterians in the PCUSA is that we say no to Nazis. It's called the Barmen Declaration, and it is in our Book of Confessions. And if you would like to read it, I am happy to show it to you. The banner for that confession of faith is an X across the swastika with a cross rising from the flames. I'm afraid. I'm worried to tell you this. I'm afraid you won't like me now, and it's only been 6 weeks. I'm like the disciples in the boat. I'm worried about the storm. I'm worried about the waves. And yet I see Jesus walking toward me, praying and singing of grace and love and justice for all people. And Jesus has long hair and brown skin, and he doesn't dress the way I do, and he doesn't speak the same language as I do. And Jesus calls me to hop out of that boat. And Maddie Mae shows us how. And her brother shows us how to help someone else who's afraid to do it. And in the end, when Jesus joins us, when Jesus is in the boat with us, the waves calm. And maybe we're a little braver. Our community, our country, our world need us to stand on the side of what is right and good and just. This is our call. This is our tradition. This is this congregation's tradition. There's a voicemail on my phone this morning wanting to make sure I knew about the history of the race riots in Springfield and the role this church and your pastor played in that. So I stand firmly in biblical tradition, in Reformed tradition of the Barmen Declaration, in this congregation's tradition, and say, we are invited to be not afraid and to stand against hate and on the side of love and God's justice. And may we all say, Amen.